Well, hello, everyone. Thank you guys for tuning in to the first episode or installment of Industry Insights with my special guest that I'm super excited to have on. We have Suzanne Paulinski. Did I say that right?
You did? You
All right
did.
now. All right now. I'm a stickler when it comes to last names. Like, obviously, they mess mine up all the time. So cool. Well, Suzanne, thank you so much for tuning or joining us. How are you?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm great. I just, the love I got for you, so I'm just happy to be here and be able to sit and chat with you and meet, everyone in the community. Hello, everyone.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it so much. I'm glad to have you as the first person on the show. Like it's been so long. I was telling Logan how we've already had a rapport and a relationship and whatnot, and
Mhm.
I was excited that he mentioned you. Like, oh yeah, I can get Suze on. That's nothing. So it's been long overdue. With
Yeah,
COVID and everything, it kind of threw everyone
yeah,
for a loop. So I'm glad we're able to get back on track.
yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Well, I had a description for you and everything in the event. I'm hoping everyone read it, but if not, tell us a little bit about you and what it is that you do.
Cool. Well, I am a growth mindset and productivity coach for music industry professionals of all kinds. I've worked with managers and artists and booking agents and agency owners and you name it. And so, as a growth mindset coach, I really just help professionals overcome any mental roadblocks, get out of that scarcity mindset. So, thinking like, oh, I'm running out of money, or oh, there's all this competition, or oh, it's going to take me so long, and switch it into a yes, I can type of attitude, everything is figure outable type of attitude,
Mhm.
and also help them figure out ways to be more productive. I look at productivity as personal. It's
Yep.
not this one size fits all. It's not this crap we've been fed for hundreds of years about, waking up and having to be a part of the 5 a.m. club. If you
Mhm.
like the morning, awesome. If you don't, you can still be super successful and not wake up at 5 a.m. So, figuring out your own inner rhythm and your own kind of inner clock and figuring out where can you be the most productive based on what your goals are.
Mhm.
So that's what I help people do, and I've been running the Rockstar Advocate for the last 8.5 years now, I think, and it's been amazing. It's been a wild ride.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I think we both got started around the same time
Yeah,
and was
yeah.
working with Ross, who will be on
Mhm.
this Saturday. Yep.
Maybe my first website. Love Ross.
Exactly. Yep. Same here. That's what's up. I love it. So, how did you get started in the mental health field?
Yeah, so I started in the music industry just about 20 years ago, and I was burnt out real fast, and it was a really toxic environment. I was at the major labels, and it just wasn't my thing. And then I started a few companies with my college roommate, and we just didn't understand entrepreneurship. So by 2011, I thought, you know what, maybe I've reached my peak. Like maybe this is as far as I go here. So I left to get my master's in psychology and try to find a new career for myself. But then once I was in the program, I was like, wait a minute,
Mm-hmm.
like this is needed. We don't talk about any of the stuff I'm learning about. That's never talked about in the music industry, and I can see how we can use this help.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't yet at that point go to get my license, but I thought, let me just use what I've learned so far. I have learned over the years it's better to just get started
Mm-hmm.
rather than wait even longer till you have everything that you
Yeah.
need.
Yep.
And so I got started, I hired a business coach, and we figured out that based on my skill sets and my strengths, being a growth mindset coach would really be beneficial. So it was an uphill battle. Nobody had heard of that in the music industry at that time. Nobody knew what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But I really came at it from a mental health perspective of, listen, we're all burnt out and we're all suffering for our art. It doesn't need to be that way.
Yeah.
So once we got that conversation going, and thank God for people, companies like CD Baby and the Launch Music Conference, who,
Mm-hmm.
back in, I started this company 2014, 2016, they were still hesitant to
Mm-hmm.
talk about it, but those were one of the first conferences to really dedicate panels and workshops to the
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah. They recently started. Like when do you recall when they started having more conversations around mental health?
Yeah, so CD Baby was the first one to actually allow, I used to pitch to all of the conferences and they were like, nope, nope, nope. Someone would be like, great, we'll put you on the future of music, as if like, yeah, we'll talk about that down the line. Let's kick the can some more.
Right.
But CD Baby took a chance on me. I said, listen, how about we just talk about productivity? Like, let's just start there. Yeah. And in 2016, they said, fine, we'll give you a mentorship. Yeah. You can mentor and talk about productivity. Nobody knew who I was, and the line was out the door to mentor with me when they had big names there that were not having the same response. Yeah. So in 2017, they gave me my own room to talk about this and talk about burnout. And so CD Baby was the first big conference to do that. And then I started my own conference solely around mental health because nobody else would hire me to do it. So I was like, I'll start my own.
Yeah.
And I did that 2017, 18, and 19. And then when the pandemic hit, I just, I haven't gone back to doing it, but it was pretty awesome.
But I bet demand is through the roof for you though, now, right?
I love it. I love it. I appreciate it. I try not to hold grudges to conferences that wouldn't let me on panels a couple years ago. Everybody's got to come to this, moment.
Yeah, exactly.
On their own time. So
very true. So why musicians though? I know you touched on it a little bit, but do you have a musical background or anything like that? Where did that idea come from?
It's such a great question because I always did. I was in every high school musical and drama club production that my school offered, but I was never the lead. I just never liked the spotlight. One of my instructors said, no, like you can sing, like go audition for a lead. And I panicked. I cannot handle the spotlight being on me. I'd love to be a part of it. Yeah. And when I was in junior high, I remember thinking, man, I wish, I just thought Janet Jackson just showed up and did her thing. I didn't realize at 12, 13 years old, there's a whole crew of people behind her that make that happen. And so I was watching a behind the music of Def Jam. Okay. And I became obsessed. I was like, there are people in the industry that don't have to perform, and they get to help artists be like amazing.
Yep.
So that was, I fell in love at that moment. And then when I heard Drexel had a brand new music business program to be those people, I was like, yep, hi, I'm here. Hi, hello. And I have such respect for what musicians do. I think it's the hardest thing in the world because even actors and actresses, they read from a script. Right. I mean, no disrespect, but this is from you. Yep. This, you're not just being judged on your performance. This is you. And I have such respect for that. And any way that I can help make their lives easier, I'm about it.
Yeah, that is so awesome. And that is a very good point though. We really don't think about it. Like those that act, they're pretending. They don't have to show themselves. They do their promo for the film. Once the film promo is over, they go back into, their little bubble. But as artists, it's like, no, you're out there, you're putting yourself out there. You are the work that you put out. Like it's you, so yeah, it's totally different. That's a very good point that you brought up there. So what have been like the most challenging obstacles people in the music industry face? Like what's been the toughest things you've seen?
What's interesting is they don't even realize, like they get so used to the burnout that they don't even realize they have a problem. And it's not like I go knocking on their door saying, no, you really do have big problems. But it's really just through educating them on the fact that it doesn't have to hurt. I spent the first 12 years of my career burning out and being very sick and having no friends and family, really in my life because I was such a workaholic and I was getting nowhere. But I was so busy that I convinced myself just any day there's going to be growth here. And I couldn't understand why I wasn't seeing the growth. And then finally, when I got a chronic illness and I had to stop, this weird phenomenon happened where I started getting rest and I started meeting better people in my network and I started making better decisions and better decisions led to better opportunities. And it was so weird. And all my friends and family were like, we've been telling you this. But in the industry, you are so conditioned to just think if you're suffering, you're doing it.
Through it.
Keep suffering.
Grinding.
We'll do it. So I have to say, I think the biggest thing that I see artists suffering with is just like not even being aware that they don't have to live like this day to day.
Yeah.
And it's just that overwhelm. And then as soon as I'm able to show them, guys, it's not smoke and mirrors. I really have done the work where I've seen proof in the pudding of like working smarter, not harder, or working less hours. Doesn't mean I'm not working as hard, but I'm just working more intentionally.
Yeah.
Once they see that, they're like, oh, so now my problems are time management, decision making, and blocking out the white noise. I would say those are the top ones.
Yep. And we know there's a lot of white noise in this industry. A lot. Yep. Especially on social media.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Tons of it. And we can easily get caught up into that and comparing ourselves to them and the things that we see and the people, what they're doing, not realizing that these folks either have a budget or they have a team or, they are taking time off and scheduling this stuff where the team, which is where the team comes in.
Right.
But it just looks like it's just a one-man show, but really it isn't. And then people start comparing themselves to it and thinking they need to do more. They need to grind. They need to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And then it's like, oh, it's this continuous loop that ends up happening.
And I fall into it with people who aren't even doing what I'm doing. I mean, like, not to go down a whole rabbit hole, but Twitch, like, I rarely follow celebrities and I don't really get into like that whole thing. But when I saw him, I was so magnetized. Like, there was such a magnetic energy that I had to watch him. And when I would watch him and his wife, I would think, man, like, they've got it all together. And even though I know better than that, I still would watch thinking, I hope I can have that someday. I hope I look that happy every single day. And I knew better, but I still would have those thoughts. And then when you see everything happening, I mean, I've lost so many friends to suicide that you would never think would be depressed. But social media is such smoke and mirrors, and we fall into its grasp every single time.
Every time. Yeah, his death is just insane. It's like what could have happened for him to do that? You have this beautiful family, you have kids. Now, these young kids have to grow up without a father. Like, what was so bad? It just makes you wonder, like, what was that bad to bring you to that?
And that's the thing about mental health. And I always tell my clients, like, if they come to me and they say, I want to be the next, not that I want to be the next Beyonce, but like, I want global superstardom. I want global impact. I want this, I want that. I lost a very dear family friend to suicide right the day before lockdown. And he had everything on paper. He had everything. And he knew he had it. He understood how blessed he was. But when you have a mental illness, it's almost like the more great things that come your way, the more panic and anxiety of, I can't maintain this and I don't deserve it.
Imposter syndrome.
And that's what was happening for him. And not in a way where we might have the fraud talk or the imposter syndrome day to day, but like to a deafening degree. And he just couldn't get help fast enough. And when I saw Twitch, I mean, same thing, just turned 40. Guys, males, I'm sorry, just watch out. 40 is it's the most popular age where men hit mental breakdowns or severe mental illness. I'm not saying that to scare anyone. I'm just saying if you're in that age bracket, just be aware of your mental health, because it does affect men and women at different stages in life. And 40 is a one of the most popular stages, unfortunately, for men to hit great depressions. And if they don't get the proper help or speak up, these things do happen. So, in Twitch's case, amazing opportunities. But if you're not able to handle it and really allow it, and feel like you deserve it and earn it, it can wreak havoc on your mental health.
What's the age for women?
Women, it tends to either be like much later in life or like at a college age. Like it can peak at certain times there.
Heavy stuff, but
down.
But we need to talk about it.
Aware. You just have to be aware.
Got to, definitely. So what are some best practices that music creators and professionals can utilize,
Yeah.
right? To balance their workload. You know, I'm a big advocate for work-life balance for
Yeah.
these very reasons. Like I don't talk about it publicly. It's not a part of my content and whatnot, but mental health issues, and it runs into my family, right? It runs in my family. My father suffered with some mental health issues before he passed. He didn't pass from suicide,
Sure, sure.
but yeah, he has some mental health issues, and it's all on his side of the family. Everybody dealing with something, you know. And so I'm a really big advocate for work-life balance, especially being in an industry such as the music industry, which is a
Yeah.
passion of mine, and it's always up and down,
Mhm.
always up and down. And you have to find ways to manage the emotions. You know, you have to, you know, one day you making, you know, 100,000, next minute you making 50. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Or nothing. Or
Right.
nothing. You know, it
Yeah.
affects every aspect of your life, you
Right.
know, especially if you have other responsibilities as well. So what have you seen people in our industry do to balance that?
Yeah. I'd say you said so many great things there, and thank you for your transparency. And I too, I mean, addiction runs high on both sides of
Mhm.
my family, and so being in this industry, like I'm hyper aware
Yeah.
of my tendencies and what I will do and not do because I know the slippery slope that I am on.
Mhm.
So, self awareness, I think, is a huge thing.
Yep.
I think, making sure you have people in your corner. By that, I mean professional help. And
Yep.
that also, I understand that it feels like self care is a luxury and mental health is a luxury. But luckily, we have amazing organizations now like Backline.care is their website, Backline.care. And you can get low cost mental health.
Mhm.
And people to help you, and they have free support groups and other things to reach out to. So even if you don't have insurance that covers getting a mental health professional, having somewhere to go like a free support group,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
talk to people who get you,
Yeah.
and then maintaining friendships outside of this industry. I know, again, it's hard, especially you're in a band, you're touring, everybody is in the industry. Try to find people outside of the industry, because we get so sucked into the lifestyle that we forget life isn't always like the music industry. And
Yeah.
so having people on the outside to, not feel like you're not understood by them, but find other things you have in common with them. If you like to knit, join a knitting group once a week. Like, get
Mhm.
out there and find other things for other passions
Yeah.
outside of your music. Not in a way, again, mindset. This is not to say, oh, now I have even less time for my music. No, now your music is going to be better
Mhm.
because you're not going to, you're going to make better decisions, right? Better decisions, better opportunities.
Mhm.
You're going to be more inspired because you're actually living life outside of the
Yes.
bubble.
Yes.
And you're going to need those people outside of this bubble when stuff hits the fan, like you said, and you're high 1 minute and then you're down in the dumps the next.
Mhm.
You're going to want those outside people to lift you up. So you need that outside support. So I always look now, the last maybe 8 to 9 years, I look now as when I shut down my laptop and I go see my god babies, or
Mhm.
I go see my partner, or I go spend time with my grandma, and I
Mhm.
know there's a deadline looming, I say
Mhm.
to myself, this is an investment in my career.
Yep.
And what we say to ourselves matters. So I will say, invest in your career, not just with money, but with the people in your life,
Yep.
with your downtime and quiet time for yourself, and with rest. And again, these all feel counterintuitive. It's like, Suze, I don't have time. Like, I get
Mhm.
it. I was the queen of I don't have time, I don't have time. But
Mhm.
like, find it.
You're right.
And when you make room for those, Parkinson's law will tell you that when you give yourself less time to do the stuff that you need to get done, it will get done. It's
Mhm.
magic. It's like, oh my gosh, how did this happen?
Exactly. It just gets done. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That makes so much sense. Especially what you said about spending time with family. One of the best things I feel like I've done in the past few years since the pandemic was move to Cleveland,
Mm.
because I'm closer now to my family. Like
Mm-hmm.
before living in Chicago, I was 5, 6 hours away from Detroit. Now I'm 2.5. I
Mm-hmm.
can go and be around my family in a day, like be there. And we were just there this weekend, you know, this past weekend for the
Yeah.
day to pick up our dog. So it's like, it's it's refreshing, even just those quick minutes, especially for those who are, especially those that have relocated for work. You know, that happens a lot. People move to the LAs or, you know, Nashville, New York for, you know, work for the music industry. And that's all they have. And they're tunnel, you know, tunnel vision. They don't have no family, anything around them. But it's so important to make time, as you say, save up and save up for a flight back home if you need to, because it is so important just to have that balance. And for me, it was about being around people that loved me for me, because you get that a lot in the music industry. People like you for what they can, what you can do for them, right, like what can you do for me? Oh, I'm gonna like you. But as soon as I'm done with you, it's like, oh, I'm gonna push you off. It's like, no, this is where that balance come in. And like you said, having friends outside of the industry and family and whatnot.
And I gotta say it also, listen, and guys, when we talk about family, like maybe you got people you're close to, maybe you don't, maybe you feel like you had to cut ties with some people, but then make your own family. Like find people that you trust. Because I can say, you know, I'm so lucky that my friends took me back after like a decade of like, guys, so I'm busy. And then when I didn't go to the baby showers or the birthday parties or any of the friends' vacations that they all still talk about, I'm like, oh, okay, well, when I had a big success that I wanted to celebrate, who was there? Or when I was really down on my luck, who was there? And I never blamed them for it, because I was like, oh yeah, I don't do anything for them. Like, so, you know, now also, listen, you can't escape the fraud talk, guys. I mean, I've talked to some of the biggest names in the business and they all still have it. It doesn't go away, but my fraud talk is much less and comes less frequent because, like you said, Patrice, like, you know, you get, if you're totally surrounded by takers or even yes people, either one on the spectrum, it's like you start to doubt yourself because none of it feels authentic. And when you've got people that are going to love you, who cares if you're real? Who cares if your TikTok didn't go anywhere? Who cares if, you know, your last album, like not enough people bought it in terms of what your goal was? They're still going to like you. That builds confidence. Like, so it's amazing how less I doubt myself now that I've got a strong nucleus.
Exactly. And you can easily wash those people off, you know, write them off. You know, those are for you, they're around you. And those that aren't for you, they can keep moving.
Right. And that's that scarcity mindset, because if you're only surrounded by you know, superficial relationships, oh my goodness, I have to be a people pleaser, because if I lose these people, I'm going to lose everything. As you said, when you don't need them, bye. Sorry, not for me. You don't like what I'm doing? I'm not for you.
There it is. And life goes on, and there's no hard feelings or anything like that. It's just there's so many people in the world. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why limit yourself to just one or two or three and think that's the end all be all? It's like, no, it's not. So, like you say, it's confidence for sure. For sure. And that definitely helps with the balance in this industry, because we deal with it every day. Every day. That's awesome. So how do you protect your mental health and have balance?
Well, the best thing I did, and this is just me, it's not for everybody. I'll say that it's not for everybody. But I went to Nashville, like you had mentioned, trying to get a quieter life, a slower life. I'm Queens born and raised. And so I just needed to slow down. But then my place burnt to the ground in Nashville. So then I was like, well, now I got to come home to Queens, but now we're back to that super fast paced lifestyle. So I started looking into tiny houses. And that was my goal for 2 years. And I finally got the tiny house I am sitting right now in. In my tiny house, there's my dog, my tiny dog, my tiny house. That's it. That's my whole house.
That's it.
So for me, you know, dealing with a chronic illness, I need peace and quiet. I need slow. I need like minimalist stuff. And so back in 2019, I bought this tiny house. Not one regret in my life for it, and it totally improved my health and my lifestyle. So this for me was my biggest self-care. But then day to day, it's just, you know, drinking water. I absolutely love these motivational thermoses. I got to just make sure I'm drinking water, sleeping 6 to 8 hours a night, which is total 180 from my first 10 years in the business. And just really slowing down. I have to take breaks during the day, or else like I'm no good to anybody. And I might work 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., but I'm not working 12 hours. I have the luxury working for myself where I'll work a few hours, take a break, work a few hours, take a break. And that's my rhythm. That's what works for me. It's not for everybody.
Yep. So it's a matter of just finding what works for you. Yeah. And Logan mentioned in the comments here, I don't know if you're seeing him. He says, that's awesome. I totally thought a lot about changing to a tiny house lifestyle. I think that's amazing. Like when you think about it, it's like, what do you need all this space for?
Nothing.
What?
No. Yeah. And like, that's the thing. That's what the fire taught me. Like, it wasn't like, yes, it sucked, but also like losing all your stuff. Not the end of the world. You have your health. And then I realized like, oh yeah, I don't need a lot of that stuff.
Right.
Like, okay.
Right.
Next.
And that also speaks to the importance of being in a good environment that, you know, is invigorating for you. Yeah. I think that definitely is something that's also important. I always tell artists too, when I work with them, that, you know, if they're not feeling inspired where they're at, like look for another environment.
Yeah.
Change space. You know, like me, I love traveling because I don't like seeing the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, when me and my fiance got together, it was like that was one of our couple goals, is to travel more. Like she's lived everywhere. Like you name it, she's well traveled. Like I say I want to go somewhere. She said, oh yeah, I lived there for a couple of months. Like, oh, it was nothing. I'm like, dog, okay. Me, I've just lived in the Midwest. So, you know, with her, that was one of the goals, was as a couple, was to just travel and see the world more, you know, especially with me working from home and her, you know, being in the schools and seeing the inner city youth and all that. We just need to get away sometimes, just see something different. And that's helpful, you know, for mental health and, you know, with all the work that we do. So that's awesome. Just thinking about that, just being mindful of your environment. And if you have to change sceneries, it's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Totally.
Yeah, take a weekend trip.
Yeah,
or, you know, a quick getaway or something. You know, you can easily do that. Yeah. That's awesome. So I know you have a book. Tell us about your book.
Yeah. So back in 2016, I created with a very good friend of mine from college. Hello, Miss Elizabeth Jackson out there. Shout out to her. We created our own planner, mainly because we didn't like anything that we were seeing out there. We were both creative entrepreneurs, and we were just like, yeah, like we would go to Barnes and Nobles and look for hours, and just nothing was like, we wanted to combine this one and this one and this one. And at the time, my clients were like, can you make me this template? Can you make me a template for this? Can you make me a template for that? When I showed her all my templates, she's like, why don't we make this? Like, we need to make a planner, and we'll just make it for us, and then you can give it to your clients, and that's it. And that's really all that it was going to be. And then a few of my friends found out, and then they're like, so way led up to way, and we started selling them. And now it's in its 2023 edition. I've lost track of how many years that is. Wow. But it now has a digital version. So we do give out the physical versions to clients. It's now like a client only tool. It's kind of gone full circle. But we do have the digital one available on my website. Because now I'm all about writing down your goals, like physically writing them down has been scientifically proven to get you to your goals faster and more effectively. But the reason I agreed to do a digital planner, people have been asking me for years, is because GoodNotes 5 is now free. Because another thing I feel is that planning, that's why every year I do Planchella, it's 100% free, is because I think planning should be accessible to everybody. And as long as GoodNotes 5, it was free, and you can write like on your, you know, if you have a stylist, or if you, it's like, okay, I don't want anybody to have to buy something additional to use the planner. And I wanted them to have the option of actually writing in it. What we do is you can either print it out and use it, you know, print it out week by week if you want, or you can upload it to GoodNotes 5 and you can write in it on your on your stylist or smart device or whatever you might use. Or if you really feel like typing, you can type in it using GoodNotes 5. But it really is just, you know, a different way to plan. And it's all about, in the book, we have lots of digital resources everything from social media content, spreadsheets, to keeping track of your contacts, to pitching, to your booking checklist on how to book shows, all these different rock sources, as I call them, to help build your, it's specifically aimed at people in the music industry or in a creative industry. Every week you can look at mapping out your newsletter, keeping track of metrics that are not vanity metrics. So it's not about keeping track of your followers, but keeping track of conversion rates and open rates on your newsletter and things like that. So it's all geared towards keeping a growth mindset, coming back to your plan at the end of every week. So we prompt you to really, like, through certain thinking prompts of like, what did work, what didn't work, not just, let me just keep going.
Right.
So it's all about being reflective, slowing down, and just being more intentional with what you do throughout the day.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know Logan's ears are burning. That's his lane right there. He is real big on growth mindset and planning and having, metrics and KPIs that we can measure, things of that nature. That is him all the way, is goal setting. So I know his ears are going right now. See? Yep. Totally. That is awesome. So I'm on your website right now looking. I dropped the link. Do you have a direct link to the planner?
Planner.
Oh, okay. Let me throw that in there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I can share it with the people.
Awesome.
Cool. So, how are you on social media?
Yeah, so
how do you run your social media pages?
Yeah, so I'm all about. There'll be other experts and people that'll tell you a specific way to do it. But my approach, again, less is more. I focus on one channel at a time. For the last few years, it's been Instagram. And now, to quote Schitt's Creek, I'm folding in YouTube. I'm just folding it in and building what I've learned from Instagram into YouTube. And just getting my feet wet with that and seeing, what my content flow feels like for YouTube and what I want it to become and how I want to utilize it. And so with Instagram, I really just learned, like, no matter what platform you use, guys, just have fun experimenting. Don't feel like you have to buy. I used to buy every single course and take every single, like, oh my goodness, here's how to get the most out of TikTok and Twitter and Instagram. I follow like 4 or 5 people that give helpful tips that, like, I try to favorite or visit their, I'll like put on notifications for those people and those people only. So I'm like, okay, I'm not worried about what other people are talking about. I like these people. I think what they do is helpful. So I'm just going to follow them. Other people might work, but, like, find your kind of digital board of directors.
Yes.
And keep to them. Because once you find someone you resonate with, it doesn't matter if somebody else says something differently. They're all going to get you to the same spot.
Right.
So figure out who you resonate with and then follow them and try to unfollow other people that do the same thing, or just mute them if you don't want to unfollow them, because then it becomes that white noise. It becomes all these conflicting things like, Reels is the way to go. No, you have to do carousels. No, if you're not doing TikTok too, you're screwed. And it's like, find what you resonate with, what feels good for you.
Yeah.
And then that's it. So I have like my 2 or 3 people I follow for different tips. And then that's it.
Good. Yeah. I know a guy on Instagram. He posted a video saying that you need to release a song every week. I almost look. Every week. Insane. And it's like, that's the stuff that you're talking about right there.
I know you're going to agree with me on this because I know your thoughts on Janet Jackson. Janet Jackson marketed the Velvet Rope for 6 years. 6 years that Velvet Rope was like being like, so I don't want to hear, maybe it was 4 years.
I went to the show.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not saying we all just take blueprints from mainstream artists, but the fact of the matter is, if you want to just put out an EP and you're getting your feet wet and you like the songs, but you're just like, okay, it's good. I'm glad it's out. It was just, a practice in getting new music out. Great. if you've created something that you feel is like a seminal, like if, you know, Janet Jackson put out a bunch of albums, that Velvet Rope one, that was like, no, I've got something to say.
Something to
Like,
say.
this is a body of work.
Yes.
And I'm going to release as many singles as I can from this.
Yep.
If you feel you have just poured out something that you were so incredibly proud of, there's always going to be people who haven't heard it.
Thank you.
Keep pushing it.
Thank you.
Like, I knew you were going to agree with me on that. So,
I'm going to clip this and send it to, I have somebody in mind that needs to hear that, you know, because I'm pushing him to continue to promote the project that he released in 2021. And I'm like, there's people that still hasn't heard this. You're not Janet Jackson. You're not Beyonce. You're not Jay-Z. You're going to have to continue to push his music. And he's saying something in it. So it's like, you keep pushing it. Like, don't give up on it. So yeah.
Unless you were shouting out two-way pagers and, you know, and you're totally dating yourself with like your references, unless that's the case, your music does not have a shelf life.
Exactly.
Keep believing in it if you believe in it. Yeah.
Yep. It's still relevant. Yep, exactly. Let's open it up for questions. We got one now. Logan asked, a lot of people complain that they don't feel motivated. What's your advice for that?
Oof. Okay. So I got a couple of different things I'm going to hit you guys with. First off, you have to also just check in with your body. Like, am I just not motivated? Like, is it coming out of fear, lack of interest in what you're doing, or is this something deeper, such as a depression? So, you know, I'm not asking you to diagnose yourself, so to speak, but just sit with yourself for a minute. Sit with the thoughts. Just take a couple of deep breaths and just listen. Your body knows more than you will ever give it credit for. So if you can just sit with it and see what comes up, you might cry, you might laugh, you might get angry. It's okay, but just let come up what needs to come up. So if you're in a deep depression, then don't worry about trying to be motivated. Just reach out for help. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if you think, I don't even know why I'm depressed. But if that's how you're feeling, tell someone. Point blank, period, end of story. If you're just not like interested in what you're doing, maybe like your day job that you're trying to resent is just like giving you a bunch of stuff on your plate and you're just not doing it because it's not giving you enough time for your music. Well, first of all, check yourself, because the more time you drag your feet, the less time you have for your music. And do like my favorite exercise, and it's in the planner too, is flip a doubt dump and flip the script. So every week there's a spot for that exercise. And so what are your complaints? What are you feeling about? And then how are you going to flip it? So, oh, I don't want to do this because it's for my dumb day job and I hate it. And I hate that I have to still have a day job and I can't do my music full time. Okay, so now we're going to flip it. The job allows you to do your music at all. What skill sets are you honing in on at your day job? I mean, I worked at Crate and Barrel. I did retail. I learned better customer service. I learned how to be a better branding expert for myself. I learned how to, you know, organize my books. And I mean, I was like asking questions and checking things out at Crate and Barrel every chance I got. So there are tons of stuff I got from there. They had a copier that I could make flyers when no one was looking. So like, what does your job allow you to do? If it's fear, if it's just fear stopping you because you're like, oh, I'm not motivated to post on social media because I'm afraid I'm going to screw it up, or I'm going to look silly, or nobody's going to like my post. So push yourself a little bit more. How can you make it fun? How can you break it down and remind yourself that this is just a one and done post? And the more I do, the more confident I'll get. And if I don't like it, I can archive it later. I can get it off my feed, but somebody is going to like it and somebody's going to get something from it. What's the cost if you don't put it out? Less people know about your music. Less people are able to connect with you and be inspired by you. Less people are able to, get something from what you've put out. And if you, ever question that, just go watch Touch. I've gone back and watched the show Touch with Kiefer Sutherland. It's all about you cross paths with everybody for a reason. You cross their path for a second, but you've now put them on a trajectory that you have no idea. Just if you bumped into somebody and sent them in a new trajectory, like you have no idea what you've done for that person.
Yeah.
Held the door open or said thank you to somebody.
Yeah.
You know, I held the door open once for an elderly lady. I'll never forget. I was like in high school and she stopped and she said, thank you. Every time I see a teenager, I have the fear of God in me because I'm afraid they're going to like do something to me. I don't, there's no reason. I just feel this way.
Yeah.
But you just holding open the door, I am never going to assume the teenager is going to be rude to me.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there like, all I did was hold the door open. You don't know what somebody else is carrying.
Yeah.
And your kindness that day, the lyrics you share that day, the post of just like that they can resonate with that day, you have no idea how impactful that can be. Yep. So when you're not motivated, think about that. Talk your fear down, flip it to how you never know if that can, and if it's not as impactful as you wanted it to be, who cares? It doesn't mean your heart, it was horrible.
Yep.
And then the other thing that I do, if I'm just like dragging my feet and maybe I'm just a little like under the weather that day, get out your task list or wherever you keep your task or to-dos or whatever, and start putting down things you've already done. So you start crossing it off. I sat up in bed and like micro task it out. That's my other favorite thing. Micro task it out. I sat up in bed. I put my feet on the floor. I got up from bed. I made it to the bathroom. I brushed my teeth. If you follow Mel Robbins, I did my high five habit. And I hide myself in the mirror. Like all of those things can just, you just need to get the ball rolling. You just need to start. And so when my Lyme disease kicks in and like it is hard for me to like just move, okay, just sit down at my desk. Just look at the computer. Yeah. Decide to put the computer on. Answer one email. If I still get there and I can't go further, okay, but like maybe I can. Yeah. You know, just get to the very next thing.
Love it. Yeah. That makes so much sense. Oh my goodness. We have another question. Believe it's pronounced Jure. If I'm mispronouncing that, I apologize ahead of time, but I think it's Jure. That answers my question, microtasking.
Yeah, just break it down backwards. You know, clients ask me that all the time. How do I know what the micro steps are? Just break it down, because if you think, for instance, I got to post a YouTube video, just start asking yourself questions. Yeah. So, for instance, how does the video have to get on YouTube? Well, I have to upload it. Okay, uploading the video. Well, how do I know what to call it? I need a title. Oh, I got to create a title. You know, how will people know what the video is about? I need a description. I got to write a description. And so when you start to really just like, it's all logical. You know more than you think you know. Yeah. Just keep asking yourself questions like, how do people find out about it? How will people know what it is? Yep. How do I get it out to people? What tools do I need to create it? Like, and each one of those is a micro task. And then keep working backwards till you either can't work any more backwards because this is so small, you just have to do it. Yeah. Or you get to a point where you're absolutely stuck, and then you just ask for help or you Google it. Yep. You know, and go from there.
Yep. Cool. I think writing things down, that's a challenge for me. It's like I feel like I already know it. I'm already going to do it. You know, it's like writing it down to the point where you know you got to do it. I feel like everything is that. I know to do it. But I feel like it helps to write it down to actually see it too.
And it slows you down. It immediately forces you, because you got to sit there and write it. Yeah. And at that point, your brain is processing even what you already know, but your brain is processing it in a deeper way. Yep.
That makes so much sense. Yeah. Juliana got a question. Let's see. I think a lot of artists or people in general are still struggling to build a network outside of social media post-COVID, where these illusion personas were created and cultivated to build a fan base or just stay connected in general. Do you have recommendations for how they can start to find their authentic voice again outside of the digital world and mute the internal voices that tell them they'll lose the audience they built?
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing. And I do hear this quite a bit lately. So, the beautiful thing is, guys, we're all connected through energy, and what you're feeling, somebody else is feeling too. Like all the musicians I work with, like no matter where they are in their careers, they all kind of go through the same type of, it's like we're on the same cycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel you. I totally feel you. So yeah, I mean, like if you had a lot of momentum before COVID and now you feel like, oh, I haven't even been on, or I've just been AWOL, or I've just lost like my interest for it, or maybe you feel like you've built an audience and kind of your passions have changed and you're not sure if that audience is still even your audience. Okay. Because here's the thing, guys, the more time we spend away, the more, as Juliana was saying, that voice of like, oh my God, they're going to leave. This is going to be horrible. Or they're going to think like, you're coming to me now. Where have you been?
Right.
Here's the thing, guys. Nobody cares. It's beautiful and insulting at the same time, right? Because like, yes, they care. Like when you have something for them, they care about it. They like your music. They think you're talented. But you have to remember everybody else is in the same boat as you. So as social media tells us differently.
Yep, it does.
Because we fall for the highlight reels, but everybody is going through it. So people might be better at paying other people to make them look good, or people might be even ignoring their own mental wellness to push themselves to pretend they look good, but they're dealing with their own stuff. So first tell yourself, it's okay because everybody is like me, whether they've got kids that totally usurp their freedom, or they've got parents that are ailing and that they're caring for, or they have a chronic illness, or their job is weighing them down. Everybody's got something that just causes them to, for lack of a better term, sorry guys, their head is up their own ass.
Yeah.
Everybody, now there are so many distractions out there these days that everybody is just trying to get through.
That's it.
The beauty in that, because it's not that they don't care about you, it's just that they don't care to worry about where you've been. The beauty of it is when you come back, there's something new for them. There's something to inspire them. There's a new but friendly face for them to see again. So again, we're flipping the script on what this really is. The reality is you're a long lost friend who they haven't seen in a while, and that you're going to excite them. Yeah. The other thing is they're not going to judge you for it. I promise you. The third thing is if they do leave, whether they just realized, oh, yeah, no, that's not for me anymore. They're not for me anymore. Or they just happen to be going through a cleanse where they just emptied out their following.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Don't toggle on the unsubscribes or the unfollow notifications. Toggle those off. They don't matter. One of the most freeing things a coach of mine said to me once was, turn those notifications off, and every time somebody unsubscribes, your open rate, your conversion rate, your engagement rate is going up. Because you're honing in your people. Everyone who's leaving, it's like, great, thank you, because you helped me narrow it down to who really are my people, and you've left more room at the table for more people of the right people to come. It's just pruning. It's like when you go I need one, but when you go cut the dead ends of your hair off, hair grows faster than if you just let it hang. So, think of it like pruning. It's necessary. It's all good. So any steps that you take to jump back into the conversation, it's all going to be positive. I promise you.
Awesome. That was awesome. That was good. Oh my goodness. That was good. You got me going. I'm over here thinking like, man, where do I need to prune? what I need? I love it. Yep. We got about 9 more minutes. So if you guys have any additional questions, feel free to drop them. Because Suze is on a roll. Okay. She is on a roll with the gems. Drop the questions. Juliana, the other thing we hear a lot is the struggle to separate art from business, especially songwriters who dig deep into their souls to create what they see as art, but then having to release the art into the world as a business on which they have to monetize. Any recommendations for creators to help separate their personal ties to their art in order to best capitalize on the music as a business?
Yes. Okay. I love this question because now my productivity expertise gets to come out. So here's the thing, guys. You have to wear many hats. And that's why I say being a musician is so much harder than being a different type of creative. Although I respect all types of creatives. I love them all. I've worked with all of them, and I'm telling you, it's the vulnerability and the fraud talk is the greatest with musicians, because you're doing the most.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, point blank, period. So the thing is, in order to overcome this, what I recommend is batching, so and time blocking, and they're kind of the same thing, kind of different, but they both work hand in hand. Think of your high school schedule or your college schedule. Right. So you had blocks of time where maybe you went to English class, you went to math class, history, art class, all the different things. And you had to constantly put on different hats. I mean, unless you just tuned them all out, which I can't blame you for. But, if you wanted to do well in school, you had to like focus on English. Then you had to focus on history. Then you had to focus on math, science, all those things. You had tests and all of them. You had papers due, different deadlines for each class. Right. You figured it out. You got through, you got by. And that is time blocking.
Yep.
So
it's a great analogy.
Yeah. So like, why are we like, somebody just sent me an article where this guy was like, time blocking is like the wave of the future. It's like, no, man.
We've been doing it.
We've been doing it. Like you didn't invent time blocking. And like, I don't like to give the Board of Education a whole lot of, thumbs up, but it is something they do right. Is time blocking your day. Mm-hmm. So that's, we come to like 18 or 21 years old and like, we just assume we don't need it anymore. Mm-hmm. But you do. And so what I would do is break your week into themed days. Let's say you even have a day job and you only have a few hours or an hour after work to really focus on your career. Mm-hmm. That's fine. That's not a problem. People are like, oh, I don't have a lot of time. That's all you need. But on Mondays, I'm just making this up, do what works for you. But on Mondays, those are your finance days. You got to put your finance hat on. I know you got emails and things. You got to book shows and you want to take calls. You don't do that on Mondays. Mondays is your finance day. So Monday you do finances. Now, if you don't have a day job and you get to expand it, then maybe you do like an hour or two of finances and one part of the day. And then you move on to maybe social media content for a couple of like chunk of the day, and then you move on to maybe band rehearsal or something like that. Yep. But if you've got limited blocks each day, then give each day a theme.
Yep.
And then maybe 2 of those days, whatever your top priority is for the season, maybe you're recording, then 2 of those days out of the 5 get recording time. If the season you're in is you've already recorded, but you're ready to release it, then 2 of those days are for marketing and engagement and getting out there and talking to your audience. Mm-hmm. But the other days, so like 2 of the days are for your top priority, but the other days are for when am I going to do finance and bookkeeping? When am I going to do sending out emails and pitching? When am I going to do getting on the phone and like networking or meeting people or business development, like coming to things like these? So, and if you're thinking like, well, how do I pick the themes? Look at how your schedule already is. Yeah. What kind of makes sense? And if finance, like bookkeeping, takes, fine focus, are you more focused on a Monday or a Friday? Or are you kind of like a hump day person where by Wednesday you're really like in the groove? Mm-hmm. So figure it out that way too. Like just experiment and see what works and just try theming out your days. Yep. Just like, we got Thursdays, my Law and Order nights, but come Friday, we got, the movie of the week.
Right.
So same thing.
Yeah. I'm a big advocate for time blocking. That's how I'm able to manage so much because I'll literally block some time off to focus on something, knock it out, and then keep going and do the next. And then it's also goes back to what you were saying earlier, as far as like the mental health aspect of it, right. Just creating space for you to rest your brain. Yeah. Especially with being creative, and, creating this art that comes from a deeper place. And I feel like what you do is art. What I do is art. We're all artists in some kind of way. Exactly. And we still have to create space in there to be able to create. So it's like, yes, it's good to time block, but also block off time for yourself as well.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like if you're, this contextual shifting, I'm business, I'm an artist, I'm business, I'm an artist. It's exhausting, and you're bound to make emotional decisions. Because if you're being emotional and creating, and then someone asks you like, hey, you know, can you play a show, or, you know, I'm going to need you to be the opener, not the headliner, you are already in a vulnerable open space. And now you're going to be like, excuse me? Or like, what? But if you just didn't look at those emails till after you stepped out of your artist moment, you're like, oh, actually, that actually works out better for me, because then I can go here after that. You're going to see the opportunities, because you're not going to be like, it's not like open heart surgery when someone's trying to ask you a business question, and vice versa. So,
that is so real. Logan says, yes, business can totally be an art. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right. So if you guys have any other questions, this is last call for questions. Last call for the alcohol. Okay. So while they drop any last minute questions, where can folks find you? I've already dropped your Instagram and your website. Is there any other way for them to reach out to you and contact you if they want to work?
That is where you can come find me. But I do have a free gift. No sign up necessary. I'm just going to drop a PDF, because you guys have been so awesome.
Sue's coming with the freebies. Come on now.
And and it says it in the PDF, it's all in there. There is a private Instagram account that I have where we do like exclusive productivity tips, and we do productivity power hours. And it's like, it's all about productivity and mindset. So anybody who has this PDF has access to that channel. So it's like a bonus on top of a bonus. This is my Redefine the Hustle starter kit. And it is like a 30+ page PDF of like everything that we've covered today about mindset, productivity hacks, finding your own internal rhythm. There's a free training in there for time blocking. It is like all of my best freebies rolled into one.
Okay.
And so if you're looking to redefine your hustle, which is what I'm all about, have fun with it. Take from it what you need, use what works, throw away what doesn't, and do you.
There you go. And shout out to you for keeping the brand consistent across all platforms. Like, that's stuff that just makes my eyes just twinkle.
You know who taught me?
Who taught you?
Mr. Ross Barber Smith.
Come on now. Speaking of Ross, make sure y'all tune in this Saturday.
Don't miss this, guys.
For Ross Barber Smith. Okay. Right. You heard her.
Come for the Scottish accent at bare minimum.
Right.
And you'll get so much more.
Exactly. Cool. So you guys are welcome. I'm glad you guys found value in this conversation. And for being such awesome guests. With that being said, if you guys have any other further questions, feel free to reach out to her through her website, Instagram, all that good stuff. Definitely check out the PDF. And that's about it. So any parting words, Suze?
I just love talking to you. So thanks so much for having me on here. And
no problem.
It was so much fun.
It's always a pleasure talking to my folks. I appreciate you. I love the work that you're doing. You know, we don't talk often because life happens. But when we do talk, it's always magical. So thanks again for joining me for this very first one, and for being such an awesome guest on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it. So you guys have a good night, and we will check y'all on this Saturday. Again, tune in for Ross Barber Smith, another dope conversation in regards to web design for the music industry. So I've worked with him. Suze has worked with him before, so he is going to come with the gems. Like, we're a group of gems. All right, Suze, thanks again. I will follow up with you later, but you enjoy the rest of your night, okay?
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.